Hi, everybody. This is the seventh session of our first day of the spring celebration, and we're going to end strong tonight with the joyful Cancer path. And I'd like to introduce Cindy Harms, who is going to be leading this session tonight, and who is also has a Dragonfly Community Circle event each month under the same name. So, without further ado, Cindy, please take the floor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Harms, and I am a three-time cancer survivor. And this is my first time um, co-presenting at a virtual event. So I'm excited, but I'll admit, I'm a little bit nervous and it's completely out of my comfort zone. But this is good. Change is always good, and learning new things is always good. So I thought I would start out with sharing my cancer path, what's happened to me over the past 15, 20 years with cancer. And then if you, Amanda, would like to share your journey,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
that's fine. And I was going to share what kind of the silver linings or some of the great learning experiences or joyful things that have come out of having cancer, and it's what's made me a better person and stronger for it. So if that's okay with you, Amanda, I'll can just
Yeah.
start out with my
Please.
cancer journey.
I I think that's great. I mean, this kind of all came about because you and I were both sharing how cancer, yes, it's a challenging path to walk, but there are so many, silver linings and benefits from it if you know to look for them. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. You absolutely go ahead and we'll listen along.
Okay. So at the time, I was in my 30s, living in the San Francisco Bay Area. And one morning, I woke up and I literally had a couple of lumps on my upper right chest. And so I called my primary care physician and said, can you take a look at this? And she sent me to a dermatologist in Oakland, California, who suggested that I get cortisone injection shots to shrink the size of the cysts. So I agreed to that, returned a month later for a follow-up checkup. He said, we can either continue doing the cortisone injections or you can just monitor the lumps, and if it changes size or shapes or colors, come back. And at the time, I asked him, is this cancer? And he said, oh, no, you've just got these irregular, just skin shapes, and you're fine. And I believed him because he's a medical professional. So fast forward 2 years later, I wake up again one morning and there's more lumps on my chest. And then I, f- I just knew in my heart and my soul that, okay, something's off, something's not right. So I call my primary care physician again. She says, let's go have you go to a surgeon, just set up an appointment to have surgery to get it removed. I don't think it's anything serious. So I went to a surgeon. He kind of blew me off and said, I'm not going to do surgery on you until you go to a dermatologist. So then I go back to my primary care physician. She was upset that the surgeon didn't set up a date for surgery. So I get referred to a different dermatologist. Walk into her office. She takes one look at my lumps and she says, we need to do a biopsy right now. And just from her demeanor, I could tell it wasn't good. So she did a biopsy. A week later, I get a call while I'm at work, and I was told that I have cancer and that I need to have surgery. So I called my husband. He came and picked me up. We were a hot mess all weekend, um, worrying doomsday, am I going to die from this? But I was able to um, get a schedule to talk with two surgeons who were going to do surgery on me, and had a friend come with me, which I'm one of the great lessons I learned is uh, whether it's cancer or any kind of um, serious medical issue that somebody might have, bringing somebody with you can be very helpful because when I was there, I think I didn't remember half of the stuff that the surgeon was talking about. So I'm so grateful that one of my best friends was there with me. So I get the surgery done. It took about a year for it to heal. And then a year later, I had precancerous surgery on my back. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Is this going to be my life for the rest of my life? That cancer is always going to be popping in, somewhere on my body. So I had surgery on my back to get rid of the precancerous tissue. And during that year, I was discriminated against at my workplace because I had limited mobility in my right arm and I couldn't lift heavy objects. So that was quite an interesting time and yelled and screamed at by my boss. So I ended up going to therapy because I figured I should just be jumping for joy. I should be so excited that I don't have cancer right now and I just feeling kind of meh. So I learned another great lesson with having cancer is that it's okay to get help and that therapy can be, it was life-saving for me. It was just life-changing. So I'm very grateful for that. So the second time I had cancer was several years later. I was living in Seattle and I had a biopsy done on my stomach and I had stage 1 melanoma, had that removed. And then a few years later, I had skin cancer for the third time. At the time I was living in Las Vegas, and that was stage 3 melanoma. When I had an appointment with the dermatologist, he said that once we go do surgery, if it's spread, you're going to have to get your affairs in order. And that just terrified the crap out of me that I had to face my own mortality. Um, so I've had skin cancer 3 times throughout about a 15-year period. And during those 15 years, I would go for checkups every 3 months. And that caused me kind of a steady stream of anxiety because every time I had my appointments, I kind of had to psych myself up like, okay, what if it's this time that the cancer's returned or precancerous tissue has returned and that I got to be strong for myself and I had to be strong for my husband and my family and friends. So that was quite the journey for me. But in 2017, I was officially declared cancer free. So I haven't had any cancer. I've had no precancerous tissue since 2017. I now go, I'd say about 8 to 12 months for an annual dermatology checkup. So that's my cancer journey. And Amanda, would you like to talk about yours, or would you like me to go on and mention some of the good things that have come out of my cancer journey and process?
I'll get you to talk about kind of the good stuff, but before you do, I did just want to mention a couple of things. Um, that feeling when you have to go see the doctor, right?
Mhm.
I, I remember saying to my oncologist, the only time I feel fucking sick is when I'm here, right? Like I
Yes.
hated walking in there. And I used to say like I had some guilt because I looked healthy. I had my hair. I look young and healthy. Um, and it was like in my waiting room, I was worried that I was seeing what was going to be coming. Like what was gonna my kind of future. Um, So I absolutely know what that feeling is like. And I remember it wasn't that long ago that I used to cry either before I went into oncology or afterwards.
Hmm.
Sometimes I could hold it together until I could get through it, and then I get in my car and I just like absolutely fall apart. Even if the appointment, like mostly the appointments went fine. It was like the buildup of like, is this the moment where they're going to tell me that regular life is done and now I've got to shift back into, you know, the sick mode, right? So I absolutely understood when you were talking about that. And then the other thing I thought that was so important that you said is this, the emotions that go with it all. And it's like, am I always like, is this just who I am now? Am I just somebody who has cancer? And then also, you know, I think people think once it's gone, you're just so thankful that you're exuberant. And then there definitely can be moments of that.
Right.
But there's also, I think it's, they don't talk about when you're just kind of like blah and you're still, you still, lost a lot during the sickness. You still were discriminated against. You were maybe let down by people you thought you could rely upon. Your finances are stressed, your relationships are stressed, and it's really easy to kind of be lost in the label and the disease. So I absolutely understand all of that, but yeah, let's hear about the silver linings you found in this journey.
So one of them was that I learned not to take people, things, places for granted, that every day's a gift, and that no matter how crappy, awful, terrible life can be sometimes, there's always something to be grateful for. Um, and the first time I had cancer and I was recovering from it, I had 2 months off from work, medical leave. Um, I would go for walks outside and I would literally stop to observe just how beautiful the simplest of things were, like flowers and colors and just outdoors people. I literally would stop to smell the flowers. And I would look around people and they're just walking by me and they're just busy, off to work or getting something to eat. And I just wanted to say, this earth is just such a beautiful, miraculous place. You just stop for a moment to just enjoy all the beauty that's around us. So that was a wonderful thing, blessing that I received. And a big thing that I'm so grateful for through having cancer is that I learned to advocate for myself when it comes to my healthcare. If I ever feel that I'm not being heard, being listened to by a medical professional, I'll get a different referral. I'll go see somebody else because I know my body best. Um, I also learned, and I mentioned before, that I learned to bring somebody with me to doctor appointments because I just wouldn't remember. I was just so stressed out. I just wouldn't remember a lot of what was discussed. Um, Learned that it's okay to have a whole range of emotions and to express them. It's okay to have a pity party. It's okay to scream, cry. Um, that that's for me, that was just part of the process of learning how to deal with cancer and that it's okay to see a therapist. On and off throughout my cancer journey, I'd have anxiety and depression, and that it's okay to talk about one's mental health, and that there's no need to be ashamed or worried about it because your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And for me personally, I feel like they both affect one another. Um, I learned it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to show your vulnerability, and that people really want to support you however they can. And I became more compassionate and empathetic to myself. I'm very critical and hard on myself. So this was a good blessing that I received is to have more compassion and empathy for people. And um, that it made me want to get back to my community. I wanted to be there for others who were sick, going through different kinds of medical challenges. So over the years, I learned Reiki and became a Reiki master, and I offered Reiki in Seattle. at the Seattle Children's Hospital. At the time, they had a Reiki program, so I offered Reiki to the doctors, nurses, staff, and then the patients, parents, and caregivers. When I lived in Vegas, I was part of a Reiki program at a cancer resource center, so I gave Reiki to cancer patients. And that was just such an honor to be able to do that, to support other people who have gone through cancer. And then now I'm currently living just south of LA, and I am part of I volunteer through a hospital here in Orange County, California, and I get to offer Reiki to patients in an assisted living facility. And the hospital that I'm volunteering with, they're in the process of bringing back their Reiki program. And once they get through all the hoops and bells and whistles to get that approved, then I will start offering Reiki to patients in their hospital. So those are some of the things, um, the hopeful things, the good things, the silver linings that I received from going through cancer.
Thanks for that, Cindy. I often talk about, I call it the cancer card. So I was so unbalanced before cancer. I was a chronic overgiver. I absolutely believed that if I saw a problem, if a problem was put in front of me, whether it was mine or anybody else's, that if I saw it, it was my responsibility to do something. And I carried that with me from the time I was a child, that I was meant, I was here to solve problems for other people. And I didn't think about the toll it took on me. I didn't do any self-care. I put everybody before me and held it up as a badge of honor that I did. And so for me, cancer was my crutch. It was what I used for boundaries while I was learning how to put in boundaries. I played the cancer card, oh, I can't do that. I have cancer. Or, I remember when I got sick, one of the first things I did at my law office, so I had a busy law practice, is I took all the files and divided them into three piles. One was, I have cancer, I cannot help you. The second was, I have cancer, but I can probably help you, but you might want to go somewhere else. And the third one was, I have cancer, but yours is almost done, so I can help it. Um, and, just releasing these really complex files of, in some cases, some very high conflict people, that in and of itself, I used to joke, was worth getting cancer for. And then, of course, for me, I found Reiki at the same time as I discovered my first tumor. So for me, my Reiki journey and my cancer journey have gone hand in hand. And I've said it 1,000 times before, and I mean it. If if getting cancer is what it took for me to find Reiki, then it was worth it. The healing I found in Reiki has been so transformative. Me from 5 years ago, me before cancer, I guess it's been 6 years, so I'll say 7 years ago, could not understand how wonderful life could be, how comfortable I could be in my skin, how loving I could be to myself, how much more positive the tone and conversation in my head could be. Um, I often think, and it's fairly controversial, um, but for me, I know I called cancer in. Cancer was an answer to my prayer. I used to think all the time, I cannot exist like this. This cannot be what my life is. Even though on the outside looking in, it all looked great. I was desperate for something to change. And I used to say in my head all the time, I don't care what fucking changes, I just need something to change. And so my body was like, no problem, here's some cancer. And I am thankful for it. There's no question that it's a difficult journey, that
Mhm.
it's just a roller coaster of emotions. And we don't want to portray this, this is called the joyful cancer path, because it can be joyful and it is joyful if you know what to look for. But that doesn't take away from the fact that sometimes it really sucks,
Right. Right.
right?
I'm not going to deny that it can be
Yeah,
awful, but my goal of this monthly community is to find those little nuggets of
yeah,
wins, of joy, of happiness, and it can be right along with your sadness, your
yeah,
pain, your fear. It kind of goes
yeah.
sometimes hand in hand,
Well, and yeah,
and that's being
absolutely.
human.
That is being human. And one of the most painful memories I have is telling my daughter, who was 8 at the time, almost 9, that I had terminal cancer and that I was going to die probably pretty quick. And that was a terrible, terrible day. Very, very difficult day. But I remember that night as I cuddled her in bed, I said, honey, even in the middle of the worst damn day, there's always good. And so, can we think of 3 good things that happened today? And she was able to think of 3 good things. And I remember just thinking, like, this is what we've got to do. We have got to train our brain to find the good. You got to go through the challenge either way, right? And it's
Right.
like you can either go through it looking for your silver linings, or you can just crumble under the weight and the stress and the hopelessness of it. And my doctor was, very clear that I was to have no hope. There was nothing anything could do for me. Um, I brought up, kind of the adjunct therapies like Reiki and supplements and all that. And she smiled and said, Amanda, if any of that worked, I'd be able to take all the vacation I'm entitled to. As Margaret Mary says, go through it or grow through it. And that's exactly it. And I
So
made
true.
the decision. I made the decision that, I was going to build the life that I wanted, whether that was for a week or for 50 years. And we have, like, everybody talks about the algorithms online, right? So, if you're on TikTok or Facebook or Google, whatever you look at, it's going to show you more of it. It wants to keep your
Mhm.
attention, so it will show you more. We have our own algorithms, right? And so when we look for blessings, we see blessings. Our brain's like, okay, she wants more of that. Let's show her more of that. When we, versus when we think everything's terrible and we're just a victim and, it's not unfair, our brain looks for proof of that and will exclude out any good that we do. And so part of this joyful cancer path group that Cindy's starting is helping, even in those difficult times, to recalibrate your personal algorithm so that you do see the good in your day. You don't have to pretend it's all roses and, it's you can show up exactly as you are.
Mhm.
But it is a place for us to retrain um, what we see. Margaret Mary says, we the thinker thinks, the seeker seeks. And that's how it works.
Mhm. Totally agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of the purpose of what we're going to do here. It's just going to be a safe place for anyone who's been touched by cancer, whether you're going through it, whether someone you know is going through it. We're going to acknowledge the hardship
Mhm.
while sharing, everyday guidance that comes with having walked that path. When you said, to bring someone with you, she is absolutely right. I was fortunate enough to have, I am fortunate enough to have a close friend. Here in Canada, we have medically assisted dying. So that is what the kind of doctor she is. She Dr. Death here, and she is who accompanies me to my appointments when I'm worried. And I remember after my first appointment with my oncologist when they told me I was terminal. I remember after in the parking lot, she said to me, I'll fucking tell you when you're dying, and you're not dying yet. You're living with cancer. And it's true. I am living with cancer, and I'm living very well with cancer. Cindy is cancer free right now. That is wonderful. I'm so happy for her. Um, Cancer is in me. I have it. The last scan, I had about 300 spots through my skeleton. I don't know how many I have right now. The other thing my friend always says is, Amanda, you can live with this much cancer. So I don't really worry about it because I can live with this much cancer. Um, and for me, the cancer really was a tool. I think we all develop before we come to this life. And again, this is just my belief. If this doesn't resonate with you, you won't offend me if it doesn't. But I really believe that I plan my life, and that cancer for me was an emergency redirection. And when I was planning it out, it was like, okay, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, if I'm disconnected, if I get lost in being a lawyer and in the competition and in, stuff, if I get lost in all of that culturally created stuff, we're going to throw in some cancer. And if I don't listen when the cancer gets thrown in, we're going to make it terminal. And I think that's exactly what happened. I didn't pay attention until it was terminal. Cindy had the good grace of learning before it became terminal. So good for you, Cindy. Um,
Well,
but
but I went through it for 15 years, so it took me a while to
see, there's
get
all
my
kinds of
shit
different cancer
together.
paths. All kinds of different cancer paths. And I wouldn't. I won't speak for anybody else, but I wouldn't trade it. My mom had a really, really hard time the first time I got sick, and and I think it probably annoyed her a little bit how happy I was about it all. And she actually said to me, Amanda, would you rather 50 years of your old life or 5 years of your new life?
Mm.
And I said I would rather 5 months of my new life over 50 years of my old life. In fact, I couldn't go back to my old life. Um, you know, critical illness is definitely, whether it's cancer or something else, it brings you to a crossroads where, you just don't have the energy to carry on with bullshit that doesn't serve you anymore. I put up so many boundaries because I knew I had to in order to heal and create space for me to heal. I created space for Reiki. I look at my silver linings, and the reality is I would not have the time to create Dragonfly if I hadn't have been sick, if I hadn't had cancer, if I hadn't to, I had to accept as part of my journey is that I can't do litigation work anymore. It will kill me. I tried. My cancer came back very, very aggressively and just kind of shot through me. So I can't do that work anymore. And I could lament and moan about it, about how I spent all this time and money becoming a lawyer. Um, my law firm is actually 10 years old this summer, and I have had cancer for 6 of those 10 years. I could lament the lost career that I had, and nobody would blame me, right? And it's not to say that I haven't had moments where I haven't lamented that loss. I have. I can tell you that a lawyer makes more than a Reiki master currently. um, or I can step back and say, okay, yes, that door is closed, but look at all of the other doors that have opened to me. Look at Dragonfly. Look at the connections I've gotten to meet. Look at the people I've gotten to meet. And really, that's the lesson of the joyful path: is you can lament what you've lost, or you can acknowledge what you've gained and make the most of that. Anything to add there, Cindy? That's where I kind of went on there
I
for a
think,
bit.
I think, no, I think that's wonderful. And you mentioned a couple of times that setting boundaries, I am an overgiver
Yeah.
and I love to help people and peacemaker, and I will give, give, give till I deplete myself. And that's one of the things I've learned over the years with cancer is like, you got to set boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to set boundaries. You got to put yourself first.
Well, and just that idea that,
Sometimes.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because it's funny that you added in sometimes, because when I first started, it was like this moment of rebellion in my bathtub where I was like, damn it, I'm going to put myself first sometimes, right? So even that first step was just trying it out to sometimes, and
Mhm.
Reiki was really one of the first things I carved out for myself, right? So when I first started doing Reiki, I wasn't doing it for anybody else. I was doing it for me. And it
Mhm.
was it was my happiness little bubble where I wasn't yeah, I wasn't doing it for anyone else. It was just for me. And actually, I was a little bit reluctant to start doing it on other people because I thought, like, I just want it to be something I do for myself. And I really had to heal kind of some of my overgiving before I was in a place where I was ready to share it. Because, yeah, and in fact, it's really interesting. I love research, I guess I should say too. Love research. There's really interesting research around the personality types tied to the different kinds of cancer. And there is consistent, clear patterns of, for instance, breast cancer, which is what I had. Um, and in a lot of the cancers, there's themes through a lot of it, but suppressing of your emotions, right? Um, peacemaker, ignoring righteous indignation or, like real anger. Like I suppressed it. I didn't trust myself enough to be angry because everything needed to run well, and everything could only run well if I was happy and chipper, and if I showed any real emotions, everything blew up in my house, right? And so then I didn't, I just stuff. So yeah, cancer forces you and allows you the
Mhm.
space to actually cultivate things that bring you joy. I wouldn't have discovered Reiki without cancer. I don't think if I think if I had just gone to that first Reiki session, I don't know if it wasn't that big crisis, if I would have really slowed down enough to really listen. Um, and that was the first step to me healing my relationship with myself so that I did, like the tone in my head when I talked to myself for the first 36 years of my life before cancer, like I was my own bully. It was terrible. I don't know why I would let myself talk to myself that way. But I did. Did you see any difference around that, Cindy? Like that conversation in your head,
I've
the
always been
tone?
very critical of myself, very, very hard on myself, a perfectionist, and I'm still working through it. I'm 56, but I do Reiki on myself every day, and it's eased up over the years. I'm much
Yeah.
more gentler to myself than I used to be.
Yeah, me too. And again, I'm glad that you say like it is, it's one step forward, two step back, two steps forward, one step back. So it's, we learn these things, but like for instance, I had serious workaholic tendencies. I
Hmm.
still have those tendencies. They're in a much healthier place than they was before. But there's ebbs and flows to that. And one of the ways I know that my mental health isn't as good or that I am getting kind of worn down is I get this antsy need to just be productive. Whether that's cleaning my house, drafting a bunch of stuff, like it almost becomes frantic. And I now know that's my sign to actually slow down
Hmm.
and go into the energy. Um, and I'm 6 years into this journey, so I'm certainly not as far into this journey as you are. Um, but I am excited to see what comes next with my health, whatever that looks like. And I often say that, or I have said before, and I still mean it, that I say all of that knowing that, cancer may take me tomorrow. I don't think
Hmm.
it's going to. I have it in my head. So they had originally told me 3 to 5 was my absolute best case scenario and highly unlikely. So I remember at the time thinking, if 5 is my best, you think 5 is my best, then I'm going to multiply that by 10 and say 50 is my best. And so I have it in my head I'm going to live to 86. We'll see. But I say all that knowing that even if I die tomorrow, it was worth it.
Hmm.
And for me, from the time I was young, I feared death. And this path cured me of that. Not to say that I'm eager to die. I'm not. I love my life. I do not want to leave. I want to be a little old lady.
Hmm.
Um, but I also know that when that hour comes for me to leave this earth to stop being Amanda McCordic, um, I am going to be pretty curious, a little bit excited to see what comes next. And that's all something like, this path and the release of that fear of death has been such a gift. Such a gift.
it's made me less fearful of death too, and to live in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great living in the moment, right? Like I could never enjoy what I had because I was always so focused on what was coming next. Like you know, I never stopped to slow down to enjoy what was going on around me. I do now. Like I've had so many beautiful, unique moments in the last 6 years that I absolutely would not have had if I hadn't gotten sick.
Hmm.
Um, that, yeah. Margaret Mary says it's your get out of jail free card. And it's true. We call it the cancer card. I tell people all the time, like, I just play the cancer card. It's fine, right? All right, Cindy, is there anything else that you wanted to add before, or does anyone have any questions before we head into our meditation tonight? No? Okay.
No, I guess not.
Okay, guys. So I am gonna lead you into a meditation through a meditation tonight that's just gonna help you find some of that joyfulness on your path. And it doesn't have to be related to cancer. This can be any of life's difficult paths, different, every life path goes through challenging moments. So this is for really any of those moments. And what I'm going to suggest we do is I'll lead you through the meditation. If it feels right when you come out, you can just do a little bit of writing. You don't have to. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of the automatic writing. And then we'll come back and share anything that people feel like sharing. And I think I've already popped into the chat. Um, no, I haven't. I'll also pop into the chat just the link to the Joyful Cancer Path. And the first session of that is starting on. I just had it there. What is the date of that?
It should be Tuesday, May 12th.
Yes, that's right, May 12th. So the first one is May 12th. We're going to be exploring some different themes. I'm going to be co-hosting for the first couple. Um, with Cindy. Part of what Dragonfly does is, we have all these amazing practitioners, and sometimes they just need a little hand holding, and so we're here to hold hands as long as we're needed. So me and Cindy will both be sitting in on the first ones. And yeah, it'll just be a place for us to come and connect, talk about the path, look for the silver linings, put ourselves in the energy, and then there'll be a recording of it sent out each month. So if you're interested and you can't attend because of your schedule or because you're a caregiver and you need to listen afterwards, that's okay. Reiki meets you where you're at, and so do we. So just sign up. We will still get that out to you. Okay. So anything else from anybody before we get into the meditation? All right. So I will let everybody get comfortable while I frig with the music. Zoom's been struggling with the music today. So just make yourself comfortable. And can somebody just give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat if you guys can hear the music now? For some reason, it will not let me hear the music when it's playing. Perfect. Thank you, Margaret Mary. All right. Get you guys all to make yourself comfortable. I'm going to do the same. This is the Joyful Path, a guided Reiki meditation. I'll invite you now to find a comfortable position. Allow your body to settle. And if you haven't already, gently close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in. Slowly exhale through your mouth. You're going to do that again. Just breathing in calm. Breathing out anything that's heavy, any anxiety. This moment is for you and about you. So just allow yourself to be in this moment. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of a quiet forest. The air is fresh, cool, and alive. And view is a path. A path of soft earth beneath your feet. This path is yours. There is no rush here. Go ahead and take your first step. Another. And then gently, one step at a time. As you walk, begin to notice what surrounds you. Tall trees reaching towards the sky, leaves softly moving in the breeze, light filtering through branches and dancing across the ground. Step you take, feel your body becoming more grounded, more supported. The earth beneath you is steady, holding you and carrying you. As you continue to move through your path rises into gentle foothills. Feel your strength. Each step may take effort, and yet you continue. Not forcing, just moving. You're allowed to go at your own pace. There's nothing wrong with your pace. Now pause for a moment and take in the beauty around you. The light, the color, the softness. And ahead of you, you see a quiet reflection pool. Move towards that reflection pool now. And as you gently look into the water, see your reflection, but not as you've been taught to see yourself. You see yourself the light of deep love, of divine love, of self-love, through the eyes of something greater, something divine. There is softness here, compassion, understanding. You are seen fully and with love. Take a moment now just to gently receive that divine love and gratitude. Seen with love. And now we invite in a higher light, a light from the highest place, pure, steady, filled with love and intelligence. I invite you now to allow in this energy. See it or feel this light beginning to flow into the crown of your head, moving slowly, gently into your body. Flows into your mind, into your face, your throat, your heart, continuing down into your chest, your abdomen, your hips, flowing into your arms, your hands, your fingers, then down through your legs, your knees, your feet. Now imagine this light moving to every cell of your body, each cell receiving exactly what it needs in this moment, bringing balance, bringing support, bringing a gentle sense of harmony. Anything that feels heavy, dense, or no longer needed, I invite you just to allow the energy to softly release it down and have it drift away. I invite you to release what no longer serves you on this part of your path. As we sit in front of this little reflection pool, I invite you to just embrace the idea that your body is not the enemy, has not let you down. You dream of. So allow the energy, this energy from the highest heavens, to come in and show its gratitude for your body. Each cell, we ask this energy to consent to gently break down any mutated cells. Break them down so they may be transmuted, transformed to something new, something healthy, something pure. Just going to sit in the energy for a minute to allow this to happen. When you feel ready, gently step back from the reflection pool and continue along your path, one step at a time. You walk, you begin to notice something else. Small moments, subtle but real. A patch of wildflowers growing between the stones, maybe a beam of sunlight warming your skin, or a bird flying overhead. It's in your path. Challenging moments, but there's beauty hidden in those challenging moments. These little silver linings, they may not change your path. They exist alongside it. Moments of connection, beauty, of unexpected grace. We ask the energy, help bring those to the forefront. Bring them to your attention. Train your internal algorithm to look for them and to expect them. I ask the energy now to show each person who's listening what silver linings they have currently in their path. And because we're always free to ask for what we want, I invite you now to ask for what lessons, what silver linings, what gifts that you ask for, that you'd like to see in your path now. Just gonna be quiet for a little bit and let the energy work on that with you. Ask for what you want. Do not pretend that everything is easy. But we ask to be found to help us find the moments of life within it. The moments nourish you, remind you that you're even here still, and that life is still unfolding. As you continue to move along your path, you notice that path begins to open, and you find yourself standing on a gentle rise along the mountainside. Turn and look back. See the path you have walked, the forest, the foothills, the reflected pool, every step that brought you here. Every challenge, every struggle, every moment of joy, every observation, every healing. Please recognize that you are not the beginning of your path anymore, that you have traveled so far, you have climbed further than you thought possible. And we recognize from this place the view is different. You can see things now that weren't visible before. You have a broader perspective and a quiet understanding. Not because the path was easy, but because you walked it anyway. Because you kept going. Because you let yourself take it in. You let yourself be human. Every step mattered. Every moment shaped this view. And now as you stand here, gently invite the same light from the highest heaven to flow over you all at once, like a soft wave washing over your body, your mind, your spirit. But this time, let it carry something else, a quiet sense of gratitude. Let's create now space for gratitude. Let's answer the question to yourself. What am I grateful for in this path? Allow your mind to fill with moments of gratitude, memories of gratitude. Allow gratitude to be the lens with which you look at your path and your life. Gratitude for your strength, for your courage, for your willingness to keep moving, even when it was hard. And let that gratitude, let that light settle into you. And gently shift your awareness. You're not just a body walking this path. You are a soul who has come here to have this experience. A soul moving through a body, a soul learning, expanding, and witnessing. The body is a part of your journey, but it's not the entirety of who you are. You are a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. Let that truth soften something inside of you. You are more than what you're facing. You are more than what your body has gone through. And this has all served a purpose. We ask the Reiki energy to bring in clarity around that purpose now. And when you're ready, you can start to return by bringing your awareness back to your body. And when it feels right to you, I invite you to open your eyes and return. We went a little bit longer in that meditation than I had expected. So we don't necessarily have time for everybody to write and share, but I do invite you to come back. And if there's anything that anybody wants to share, um, by all means, please do. How was it for you, Cindy? It was a pretty wordy one.
Um, Good. Still bringing up emotions that I'm working through and um, old thought patterns, beliefs. It was kind of just
Yeah,
a continuation of that for me.
yeah, it absolutely
But
happens, right? Like,
I loved the path that you took us on.
thank you. I actually had plans to flesh it out more and then ran out of time. So I thank you for your kindness.
It sounded fine to me.
Oh, thank
It
you.
was, I thought it was wonderful. So thank you.
Well, and listen, this is the wonderful thing about Reiki is that it's the Reiki energy doing the work. And so as long as we hand it over to the Reiki energy, what happens, what needs to get done, gets done every time.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Margaret Mary, go ahead.
I just found myself in joy and present to
Mm,
sensations in my body and was just like, you don't serve me. Go away. I release you. And like I'm really joyful right now.
good.
It's just really relaxed and lovely. And what a great way to end today on
Yeah, thank
joy.
you. Joy.
Be in joy
Well,
always.
be in joy always. Yeah, it's,
I like that. Thank you.
yeah. Joy is so important. Like, joy is necessary for a sustainable life. And, like, one of the things I'm working on this year is being in joy more, right? Like, reminding myself of how important it is to find joy. And, and part of finding joy is actually creating enough of a relationship with yourself to know what actually brings you joy. Like for me, I discovered last summer that I love foraging, which nobody could have predicted. Um, and that brings me joy. It doesn't matter how bad of a day I have. It doesn't matter how annoyed I am or how stressed I am. The moment I start pulling dandelion roots, I am joyful. And like it's one of those this is one of those tools to find what really, really brings you joy. And when you find it, do more of it. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
On some level, it's as if we came here to experience that. And, you know, myself, I resisted it. And when I work with my clients, especially the medical ones, it was like, you're missing joy.
Yeah.
You know, that's so, we're going to extract the liver cancer and we're just injecting divine joy. And,
Yeah.
it's not a one and done. There are layers to it. And right before this session started, a really incredible client that I've worked with for quite a few years um, just texted some really great news. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just so proud of her for that, for the accomplishments and the joy that she has found. And this is a person who has dealt with addiction and spirit entity attachments and has really put herself back together, and she has devoted herself to anyone with addiction and homelessness. And there's a lot of people are only one diagnosis away from homelessness. But
Mhm.
she texted me right before we started and she's like, I'm so happy. And, what a journey. So thank you.
And it really is. Thank you for that. It really is a journey, right? And we don't necessarily have the map of exactly where we're going. But when you can get your head around the fact that there is a point to it all, right? And like you are, like there's wisdom in all of it. If you can release the trauma around it, if you can, get out of the kind of victim mentality. So, but again, all of it, we are human, so it oftentimes feels like two steps forward, one step back, and that's okay. There's layers, there's wisdom in every, you know, the lesson will stop appearing when you've learned it, right? So every time a lesson shows up again, you don't have to beat yourself up. You just have to work on it. Okay, so thank you all so much. Cindy, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off tonight?
I'm just grateful for everybody who attended on a Saturday night. So thank you very much. You could be doing so many other things. So thank you for taking the time to come support me. And Amanda, thank you as well
Of
for
course.
being my hand holder these these next few
I'm
sessions.
here.
So thank you.
I'm here. And yeah, thanks you everyone who's listening tonight or who are listening later. And just know that, yeah, this group is going to be happening once a month. If it's at a time when you can attend, still sign up for it. You'll still get the recording and you'll be able to return to the meditation as many times as you need to. So we're here, and you can show up even if you're not joyful, even if you think cancer fucking sucks and you're sick of it. We still want
Right.
you.
Right.
Um,
We're here to support you.
we're here to support you. That's right. We're here to help retrain your algorithm. So come as you are. You're always accepted. And with that, I'm going to thank you guys all. I hope to see some of you, all of you tomorrow, but understand if you can't. And if there's anything that you see that you didn't sign up for, just shoot me an email and I can either get you the sign in or I can get you the replay. So thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Cindy, for putting yourself out of your comfort zone. I think you did a great job. And you've now checked that box for the first time.
Thank you. I made it.
You made it. You did a great job. Thank you so
You
much,
did,
folks.
Cindy. It was
Thank you very
you did
much.
a really great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up.
No worries. Let's do it again.
Yes.
Yeah.